What is up, YouTube? JankyYGO here. My name is Mikhael. We have a bunch of cards to talk about, so we're just gonna move along right here. First up is Psychic Eraser Laser. Normal spell card, send one monster your opponent controls that was special summoned from the extra deck to the graveyard. Then your opponent gains life points equal to the original attack or defense of that monster, whichever is higher. You can only activate one Psychic Eraser per turn. This card doesn't target, it doesn't destroy, and it sends to the graveyard. Sending is relevant. Also, gaining your opponent's life points isn't usually that big of a deal. And on top of that, specifically those special summon from the extra deck, but whatever. But on top of that, the last thing to happen is your opponent gaining the life points. I don't think it happens simultaneously. So if they have an optional win effect, it can cause things to miss timing. Anyway, next up, Underdog. Contains trap card. During your turn, negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls. During your opponent's turn, negate the effects of all face-up monsters you control. I guess in the right deck, this is a floodgate. But it's a really janky one, so I don't think it will see much play. So, we got this card, which might not be new, but we're still going to talk about it. Heavenly Zephyr Miradora. It's a dragon. It's a level 7, 2000 attack, 2600 defense. The activation of this card's effects and the activation and effect of this card cannot be negated. So it can't be negated. If your opponent special summons a monster with 2000 or more attack from the extra deck except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned from the hand, you can target one face-up monster that is special summoned from the extra deck. Neither player can activate that monster's effects while this is face-up on the field. It is pretty decent at if your opponent has like an activated ability instead of like an ignition thing. So if they try to activate something, it just can't happen. So like an example, it doesn't work on this card, but an example of something I thought of off the top of my head would be Red Eye's Dragoon. Like I said, it doesn't work on Dragoon specifically, but an effect like Dragoon or like an Xyz monster. Like I don't know. No, Abyssal could activate in response to you targeting it. It hasn't been relevant in a long time, but Castell is another example, but you get the idea. Anyway, next up is Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. I'm actually really excited for this card. It's a Link 5. 4 or more effect monsters. You can use one monster your opponent controls as link material to link summon this card. If this is link summoned, this card is link summoned, you can negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls. If this link summon card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects unless they target it. So if it's a non-targeting like mass board wipe, it doesn't care about it. It can't. It also is kind of a way to get around negation. So if they have like a Totally Awesome, for example, shout out to Stefan, you can. It's unaffected by that because Totally Awesome doesn't target. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect that special summons monster or monsters from the graveyard, quick effect, you can negate the activation. So, negates the archetype monster reborns and the regular monster reborn and like stuff like that. It's a pretty good card overall. It's a Link 5, which can be hard, but you can use one of your opponent's monsters. But the thing I'm excited for is Troop Dupe Scoop, because this is a decent card to go into, and linking 5 monsters away is pretty easy even on turn 1 and even on turn 2. On turn 2, you can use one of your opponent's monsters to break their board. So yeah, and it doesn't have to be different monsters. So if I do the old card trooper machine dupe thing, I can possibly go into this anyway. Love this card, like what it does. It's a Link 5, so it does require a lot of materials. That's its only downside that I see. Next up, Pot of Prosperity, the famous pot card coming out of this set. I think this card is really, really good. You know why? Because it is a better Pot of Duality. Well, what does it do? Banish 3 or 6 cards of your choice from your extra deck face down for the rest of this turn. After this card resolves, any damage your opponent takes is halved. Also, excavate the top card of your deck equal to the number of banished cards out of one the excavated and place the rest on the bottom. So, in decks that don't care about their extra deck very much, this card is great. In cards that do care about their extra deck, it's okay. Actually, it's still fine because you banish 3 of your choice, so you still get to pick. Your opponent takes half damage, but that doesn't matter if you're going first. You can't really do the damage anyway. You do damage to them anyway, but overall, great card. You know, you can't draw cards by card effects the turn you activate this. Is its downside. And you can only activate 1 per turn. Still a good card. Still definitely thing that you should run in decks that don't have a lot of draw power or anything like that anyway. Very good card. And indeed, just a good card in general. It's been out for a while in the OCG, it's been out in the OCG, so everyone probably knows about the card. But it's coming to the TCG, and this is primarily TCG's channel, even though we cover a lot of cards coming out in the OCG, because we'll get those cards eventually. Next up, Angel Statue, Azurune. I'm pretty sure we covered this. I think we actually covered this card at one point, but in case we didn't, it's a trap monster, so you special summon as a trap. Once per turn, if your opponent would special summon monsters while this card is in your monster zone, you could send to the graveyard 1 continuous trap in your monster zone that was special summoned from the spell or trap zone. Negate the summon, and if you do, destroy that monster or monsters. When this card in the monster zone is destroyed by battle, you can destroy the monster that battled this card. So, it's kind of like a Black Horn of Heaven. So, if they try to do special summoning without an effect, that's basically how this card negates things. So, and in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community terms, we usually call it inherent, even though that's not a technical term of Yu-Gi-Oh! I like to say summoning by game mechanic, because, or a summoning by a non-activated effect. It's kind of, I guess it's probably a better way to kind of work it. Either way, it's basically summoning that doesn't, like, activate to do it. So, your Link summons, your Synchro summons, your XD summon, your Pendulum summon, your, specifically contact fusing, you know, no polymerization and all that. Your Cyber Dragons. Cyber Dragon is a one that just drops out of the hand and specials and everything. Those are the things it negates. It won't stop stuff that, like, it won't stop a monster reborn or anything like that. But, you know, not the worst card in the world. Still not enough to see play. But it is nice for the trap monster deck to get support. I know some people really like that deck on the casual level. Anyway, next up is Time Thief, Temp Whaler. So, new Time Thief card. That's pretty cool. Level 4 Dark Machine Effect Monster, 800 attack, 1400 defense. You can only use its first and second effects of this card's name per turn. You contribute this card, then target 1 monster your opponent controls. Banish that monster until the end phase. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target 1 Time Thief monster you control, except for itself. Return that monster to hand if you do special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. Level 4 summons itself back from the graveyard. I'm sure that there's ways to make the bounce part less of a downside. I guess you have to target a Time Thief monster, but I guess it's probably better that way, because if it was any monster, there'd be some dumb things you could do. But they'll banish it when it leaves the field. Isn't a real downside. It just means that if you Synchro summon for it or Link summon for it, it does get banished. But if you don't do that and you actually use it as the way it's intended, which is XD summon, it won't get banished. So keep that in mind. And then we have a whole new deck without a lot of pretty card art, because I'm not gonna watch this video for you. But the first card is a Link monster called S-Forced Justify. It's a Link 3 Light Cyrus effect monster. 2600 attack, and its Link arrows are top left, top, and top right, so all the up ones. 3 effect monsters, including an S-Forced monster. You cannot special summon monsters to a zone this card points to. Quick effect, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of turn, and then you can move your opponent's monster to their monster zone that this card points to. You can only activate the effect of S once per turn, the S Justify. At the start of damage step, if this card attacks, you can banish all monster this card points to. Oh! Hey, that's pretty good! You can negate an effect and move it, and then attack something it's not pointing to, and then at the start of damage step, it just banishes them all. The ones it did, and you can still hit it for damage that way. But if you do attack someone that this card points to, like one of the monsters, you can banish. You banish it at the start of damage step, which means they're not going to take damage, and you don't get to redeclare an attack. That's fine. Field spell. When this card is activated, you can add one S-Force monster from your deck to your hand. Okay, field spells that do that, always great, always staples in the deck. I mean, we only have terraforming, unfortunately, and metaverse, so not a lot of ways to get it, but still always good to have it. But it has more effects. When an opponent's monster declares an attack on your S-Force monsters in the same column, oh gosh, it's a column deck, you can activate this effect. That monster you control cannot be destroyed by battle. And then you can only activate this effect once per turn. You can only activate one of them per turn. Okay, so I don't like column monsters. The only good column deck, or one that cares about columns, was Mech Knights. The only one I actually enjoyed playing was the Weather Painters, and I only enjoyed that deck because it's basically a hard stun and control deck, and I like to make people miserable when I play Yu-Gi-Oh, because I'm that type of person. Next up, S-Force Gravitino. It's a level 5 light psychic effect monster. Okay, 2000 attack, 1400 defense. Hopefully, he has a way to special summon. Each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters is banished when it leaves the field. So, any monsters in the same column is banished. Okay, that's pretty good. If the card is normal or special summon, you can add one S-Force card from your deck to your hand, except for itself, and you can only use this effect once per turn. Okay, not bad. Not bad. Psychics have a decent amount of support too. And you can search this with the field spell. This can search the field spell if you can summon it. The issue is summoning it in the first place. Hopefully we get a lot of good cards that do that, because this one doesn't do that, doesn't summon itself. But it is kind of a macrocosmos, or I guess a dimensional fissure, where it banishes stuff that, in the same column as it or any of your S-Force monsters. So, if you have a 5 field, this is like weird scenario, right? But if you have a full field of 5 and they have a whole field of 5, well, not a whole field, but you get the idea. If you have a whole field of 6, and so do they somehow, you can technically banish all 6 of their monsters, because your S-Force monsters they're in the same column as a monster, as the same one as every single one you fight. It doesn't say as the battling monster, so that's important to note. also, like I said, adding cards, always great in Yu-Gi-Oh! It sucks it's part of a level 5. Since the Psychic, if you wanted to make it really, really good, you could make it a level 3. Because of Emergency Teleport. Emergency Teleport's at 1, but something to think about. Level 2, Dark Warrior Effect Monster, 800 attack, 1000 defense. The name is Rappa Chuyomaru. Okay, I'm gonna butcher that name. Each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters can only target that monster for attack. So it can only target the monster that it's in the same column with. Okay. Quick effect, you can banish one S-Force card from your hand. Return this card to your hand, and if you do, you special summon one S-Force monster from your deck, except for itself. Okay, so this is the way to summon out your Gravitino. So you banish one, you bounce this back, you special summon Gravitino from the deck, get your search on. You don't really lose anything because your monsters still go back. You're still the same in card economy, because let's say you have 5, you banish one, return this to hand, and everything, so you're up at 4 cards in card economy. Then you special summon the S-Force, or the monster you get from the deck. That goes up to 5. And it's still +1. It's just a really weird way to do it if you summon Gravitino. But if you don't summon Gravitino, you break even in card economy. So, not bad. It's just weird, interesting way to do it. Next up is S-Force Platina. Level 6, a Dark Spellcaster Effect Monster. 2200 tech, 2000 defense. Each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters loses 600 attack. If this is normal or special summon, you can target one of your banished S-Force monsters except for itself, special summon it. Okay, so I like this card a lot, because what this card does, right, is it gives you options for your Chiyomaru. So, here's what you can do. Activate this effect. Banish the Gravitino from your hand, if you have one in your hand. And special summon Platina. Platina special summons out Gravitino from your banished zone, because it was normal or special summoned. Then you get a search for the field spell. The field spell activates, you search for another monster. You can go from there. Or you can add their quick play spell card, S4 Shutdown. You like that transition? You can only activate one of the following effects. One, you can summon an S-Force monster from your hand in defense position. Target one S-Force monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only activate one per turn. Pretty good overall too. I like these. So their support is pretty good. None of their monsters so far are bad, and luckily they're getting more than one level 4 or lower, as we can see right here. But also pretty decent card. Usually I'm not a fan of just special summoning from hand, but it does have the ability to add back from graveyard, which is a nice little added. And on top of that, the deck wants cards like to be thrown and everything out. So yeah, S4 Specimen. Normal trap card. If your opponent controls a monster, you can target one of your S-Force monsters that is banished in your graveyard. Special summon it to the same as column as your opponent's monster. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target an S monster you control, move it to one of your main monster zones. So I think this is supposed to be like a Call of the Haunted, or not a Call of the, kind of a Call of the Haunted. You special summon one from your banished or graveyard. I think it's just missing that text, because banished in your graveyard doesn't make sense. Those are two different things. But I'm pretty sure that's what it means, or that's what it meant to say, and the site messed up on the translation. So if it is that, then yay. If it's this abomination of translating or whatever this is, then that's worrisome. I don't know what that means. Alright. Next up, S-Force Orifice. 1800 attack, 1000 defense. We get our standard level 4 1800 monster that almost every archetype seems to have nowadays. Your opponent cannot target any other monsters in the same column as S-Force with card effects, so they can't target their own monsters and stuff. Okay. When a monster your opponent controls activates quick effect, you can banish one S-Force from your card and destroy that monster, so it doesn't negate, but you can still destroy a monster. Pretty good. I don't like that you have to banish a card from your hands and you don't get any card advantage out of it. But it is a level 4 monster, so I guess I can't complain too much. They don't... Oh, it's a Cybers too. Oh, why is it a Cybers? Why couldn't they just almost all be effect? Oh, that's... or Psychic. It's level 4, so it doesn't matter as much. But, next up. So S-Force Professor Dagama, level 3 Dark Psychic Effect monster, 1000 attack, 1500 defense. If your opponent's monster is in the same column as one of your S-Force monster, cannot change their battle position. If this card is special summon, you can target one fixed up monster your opponent controls and change its battle position. Okay, that one's probably the weakest so far. That or the Orifice. I guess what makes this one better than the Orifice is if you could e-tele it out. If we had more emergency teleports than, one, you could make the argument that you could use e-tele. Usually it's a combo wombo piece thing and everything. But in this case, you could use it to pretty much negate 2 attacks or stop them from hitting your life points. In more casual play, that's something you could do with this card. Flip up emergency teleport, special summon it, then use its effect, because they'd have to re-declare the attack, so, and in that opportunity you get to use its effect. Switch one monster to defense, then they can attack, either replay their attack, and if you didn't switch that one to defense and everything, they attack with another one, whatever, don't matter. Idea is, in casual play, with the emergency teleport, it kind of blocks 2 attacks. In Yu-Gi-Oh, competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, this probably does the least. It's not like a Book of Moons them, or puts them face down. If it put them face down, it'd be a little bit better. You can make the argument of special summoning it on your opponent's turn to disrupt their combo plays. Like that new Book of Moon, the Book of Moon's 2 things for discarding cards, kind of like Twin Twister. But that's it. Anyway, that is it for today. If it is your birthday today, happy birthday. If you want to send me cool deck profiles or replays, my email's in the description. I would love to see them. And of course, and as always, have a wonderful day.